with like small group jazz with the Heilig maneuver, Henry Heilig's group.
Yes.
And so I really wanted to get back to my Gretsch sound, that point, that warmth. And I think Brand P probably, they have some of those sounds as well. But I just wanted to get back to my roots as a Gretsch player. That's what it felt. It felt like coming home,
Yeah.
And so it means a lot. It means the world to me.
And how did it come about? Did you sue it? Did you speak with David McAllister? Was it something you initiated?
Yes, it was. That fall, I spoke with David, and we knew each other a little bit because David had a relationship and worked at Sabian for many years, and I'm also a Sabian endorser. This is my 31st year as a Sabian endorser, and thanks to those amazing people over at Sabian, the wonderful team that they have over there, so creative. But I spoke with David, and I said I want to switch back to Gretsch, and he was very enthusiastic about that, and I think that day he sent me the application, and I signed that day.
What an awesome guy! I know my experience was similar, and
thank you, David.
I kept rereading the email. I was at an ABBA Revisited sound check, and I'm like reading this email, and I showed it to Nick, our Bjorn, and I said, "Is this what I think it is?" Yeah, it's a trip. What recordings or gigs are you most proud of? Part A, and B of that, are there any recordings that you've done that feature any of your Gretsch drums?
Good question. Thank you. You know what? Some of the recordings that I'm most proud of, would be some of the Manteca stuff. Like early on, we did an album called Perfect Foot, and a lot of the compositions. Rick Tate was one of the main composers at that point, and others, Aaron Davis. We won the Juno with that record, and as best instrumentalists of that year, and I was so proud of that record and the playing on it. And we did that album at the old Manta studio in Toronto.
Oh, geez.
Had such a tremendous sound at that studio. So I'm really, really proud of that record. I'm proud, and so that would have been my Gretsch drums, maybe. Yes, because I hadn't switched over yet. So that was my first, I think it was my first or second record with Manteca, and I was still using my Gretches then.
That's amazing.
I'm really proud of the new Heilig maneuver stuff. That's all my Gretsch drums. The newest Manteca record is on my Gretsch drums. And then as in terms of proud of my performances, like there's a few that stand out. Like recently I got to do the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame performances, which they were honoring Neil Young and a few others. And Katie Lang was one of the features, and she sang Helpless. I think it was Helpless. Yeah, was it Helpless she sang? Yeah, hugely amazing experience for me.
Yep.
I don't think I've worked with a better singer in my life. Like, she was just absolutely tremendous and so professional. And that was one of the highlight of my career for sure. Is Massey Hall with Katie Lang and a huge orchestra playing Neil Young music. I mean,
wow. How long ago was that?
That was a couple of years ago, a couple of falls ago. Yeah.
That is incredible. And you've had such a really varied career. And I mean, a lot of people have done certainly nowhere near the amount of well-known artists as you, and they can be kind of jerks. But you've got to be one of the nicest. It must be the East Coast thing for you. But I mean, how was the Amanda Marshall experience for you?
Oh, again, a tremendous experience. Like,
what a voice!
Unbelievable voice. Just an incredible talent. That was the largest and longest tour I've ever done.
Wow.
We did. It was around the mid-90s, I guess, and we did we did a world tour for 2 years with Amanda, touring her first record.
Wow.
And just a tremendous experience. And we just got to go right around the world with that. And The music was so great. Kenny Aronoff had done the recording.
Oh, I know that album inside and out.
Do you? Yeah.
Every bit. Yeah, loved it.
And just to play and
Lee
emulate
Sklar.
those parts. Oh my God, Lee Scalara, all that. I remember the audition for Amanda as well. That was a little bit stressful, but I mean, you go into these things and you just do your best. Her manager was a friend of mine, Tom Steven, who was the drummer with
I
Jeff
know
Healey.
Tom.
You know
Yeah,
Tom, yeah.
yeah. What a nice guy.
He's a sweetheart, and he he invited me down to audition. He was managing Amanda, and so there was a long line of drummers out the door that day. And I remember they sent me the song, well, Birmingham, I think I played, and Dark Horse. And when I heard Dark Horse,
Yeah.
because it's that kind of eighth notes, kind of straight up groove, I thought to myself, yeah, I think this is going to work out real well for me.
I remember watching you on TV playing New Year's Eve in Niagara Falls.
Oh yeah,
I remember going,
that was cold.
I don't even know if I knew you then, or I must have, because I reckon I go, that's my friend Charlie. Holy, so I've known you longer than that. So since maybe 25 years, and you don't look any older.
Oh, thanks. I feel it.
It's the drums. Somebody wanted. Oh, we have Crystal that I play in ABBA Revisited. She loves Amanda Marshall, and Michelle Truman was asking if Peter Kadar was in the Amanda Marshall band or no.
Not in that version. This was the first version of the touring that she had started. I mean, she had done a little bit before that album broke, but this was her debut album. And so the band was Gary Bright, my buddy from the Long John Baldry days, on piano and keyboards. Damien Orokian was playing acoustic guitar and some electric, and Ian McNally was the electric guitar player. The bass player was Rob Meisner. And later on, after Gary left, it was Webster. Gosh, this is so bad. I can't remember. Al Webster's brother.
Oh.
Eric Webster. Sorry. Yeah, Eric Webster was playing piano and tremendous player. God rest his soul. And yeah, that was a great band. My God, we had fun.
In the world for a couple of years is amazing. Pam Cooley wanted to know about Leonard Cohen. I didn't even know this about you, man.
Well, Pam's going through my.
She's awesome.
All my highlights. Thanks, Pammy. Yeah, the Leonard thing was so just chronologically. So the Baldry thing, then the Manteca thing. The Leonard Cohen thing was before Amanda. So we were doing a television show on CBC called Friday Night Live. I think it was just Friday night, and it was a guy named Ralph Ben Murgy was the host of the show. Remember Ralph?
No, I remember the show.
The show, yeah, it was a great show. We had a lot of fun on that show, and we were the house band. You know, there was myself and Doug Wilde and Matt Zimble and Neil Chapman and Colin Baird. I mean, it was just a smoking band, and Janet Munson and Tabora Johnson. I mean, this was a wonderful band called The House. We called it The House Band. Anyway, so Leonard was scheduled to come on the show. And they asked Leonard, do you want to use the house band for your performance? He said, no, I want to probably just play the tracks and I'll bring a couple of my musicians. So Matt Zimble, who's, an amazing producer himself, he wasn't taking no for an answer. And we had sent to Leonard's people a bunch of recordings of us playing, some of the stings and bumpers for the show. And we kind of were very persistent with them and that we really wanted to work with Leonard and do the songs. And they finally said yes. So they showed up at the studio, and we had, in the meantime, when we got the answer yes, we were going to do the Leonard thing, we learned the songs cold. Like, we learned them down. We had it down. And they showed up at the studio, and his musical director handed out the charts to everybody. Meanwhile, we knew the tunes like inside out. And we pretended to, put the charts up and read down the songs. And we nailed it. Like, just the first take, the first run through, Leonard was like, he just kind of turned around and goes, thank you, friends. He was just so humble.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And, he was so knocked out with the band. Like, we really nailed it that day. And the interview portion of the show with Ralph, he kept looking over the band like, this band is so great, so great. And then one of the questions from Ralph to Leonard was, so they've scheduled you to go on the Junos and present or play and do a presentation on the Junos this year. And Leonard said, yeah, but I won't go unless I can have this band. So we got hired to do the Juno Awards like just a couple months after that performance on Friday night. So I got to work with Leonard twice, and it was an amazing experience, like the professionalism and the precision, and oh my God, it was amazing.
And if Matt Zimble wasn't so persistent,
right,
that would never have happened. Kudos to him. And
yeah,
for
thanks, Matt.
Wow.
And what?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I had no idea of this stuff, man. Oh.
Yeah, that was amazing. Like, you know, I've been so fortunate to work with some of the Canadian icons, man. Like, you know, Leonard, and I got to do a bunch of Anne Murray tours.
Right.
Which was kind of, so the Anne Murray thing happened after the Amanda Marshall thing. All these AMs, Amanda Marshall, Anne Murray, all these AM names.